You ever wake up 2, maybe 3 times a night to pee and just chalk it up to getting older? That's what most men over 60 do. But here's something that might surprise you. It might not be your age at all. It might be your sleep position. I'm Dr. Mark. I've been a board-certified urologist for over 30 years, and what I've discovered both in research and in the dozens of men I see each week is that how you sleep can either help or silently sabotage your urinary and hormonal health. Here's a scenario I see too often. A man sleeps flat on his back. It feels natural, comfortable, but night after night, he's waking up groggy, drained, and constantly interrupted by trips to the bathroom. No one tells him it might be the pressure from that position triggering bladder sensitivity, reducing blood flow, or interfering with prostate function. Did you know that over 60% of men who sleep supine after age 60 report worse urinary control than side sleepers? Or that back sleeping is directly associated with worsened sleep apnea and lowered testosterone levels overnight? In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 eye-opening truths about sleep position after 60, including the one position I tell most of my patients to avoid immediately. You'll meet real patients who changed their sleep habits and reclaimed their sleep, their bladder control, and even their morning vitality. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more insights like this, and if this message resonates with you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 2 so I can improve and better serve what you're really looking for. Let's get right into it. Part 1. Waking up to pee isn't just aging. It always starts with a whisper of doubt. A man in his late 60s, let's call him Harold, comes into my office rubbing his eyes and chuckling nervously. "Doc," he says, "is it normal to wake up 3 times a night just to pee?" He's not in pain, no burning, no urgency, just exhaustion. Every morning, Harold feels like he ran a marathon in his dreams. Here's what I tell Harold and every other man who walks in with the same question. Waking up frequently to urinate isn't just getting older. That's an oversimplification, and frankly, it lets the real issue off the hook. What's really going on is a complex interaction between your sleeping position, your bladder sensitivity, and the pressure placed on your urinary system during the night. And it all starts with circulation, or rather the lack of it. You see, when you lie flat on your back, especially after 60 when pelvic tissue becomes less flexible, the weight of your abdominal contents can gently press down on your bladder. It's subtle, but it sends your bladder the wrong message: hey, you're full. And like a loyal soldier, your bladder signals the brain to wake up. Every single time. But Harold's case went deeper. He was also dealing with something called nocturnal polyuria, a fancy term for producing too much urine at night. And what was triggering that? Again, his back sleeping position. It created poor venous return from his legs, causing fluid retention to redistribute into the bloodstream once he lay down, which in turn got filtered into urine. So now Harold isn't just being woken up by pressure, he's also making more urine than he should be. Double trouble. What's critical to understand here is that this isn't Harold's fault. He's not broken, he didn't do anything wrong, but the body changes with age. Muscle tone decreases, tissues lose elasticity, and circulation, especially in the pelvic region, slows unless we actively adjust how we live and how we sleep. The big insight here: the body adapts. Even at 67, Harold began experimenting with how he positioned himself at night. We added a slight pillow under his knees, taught him to angle slightly to the left, and had him elevate his legs an hour before bed. Within 2 weeks, he went from 3 nighttime bathroom visits to 1, and in some cases, none at all. So, if you're sitting there thinking, this is just what happens after 60, let me challenge that. It's not just your age, it could be your posture, and the fix might be as simple as changing the angle at which you rest your spine. Don't let the phrase normal aging stop you from sleeping like you used to, because more often than not, it's something we can work around if we know where to look. Part 2. The supine sleep trap. Let me tell you about Leonard. He's 72, an ex-firefighter, tough as nails, but when he walked into my office last fall, he was more frustrated than anything else. "Doc," he said, "I used to sleep like a log. Now I'm tossing, turning, peeing every 2 hours, and I wake up feeling like I've been hit by a truck." When I asked him how he slept, he shrugged. "On my back, always have." That's where I paused. Because what Leonard didn't know, and what many men don't, is that sleeping flat on your back, the classic supine position, might be quietly working against you after 60. Here's why. As the body ages, the tone of the pelvic floor muscles weakens. At the same time, the organs in the abdominal cavity, your intestines, bladder, even the prostate become a little less supportive. When you sleep flat on your back, gravity encourages all of those structures to rest heavier into the pelvic basin. That subtle downward pressure can irritate the bladder, constrict the urethra, and cause microswelling in the prostate, all of which can trigger an urge to urinate more often, even if the bladder isn't truly full. For Leonard, it showed up as urgency. He'd feel the need to go not a real full bladder, but a tickling, nagging sensation that wouldn't let him rest. So he'd get up, pee a little, go back to bed, and repeat that cycle all night long. And it's not just pressure. The supine position has also been shown to reduce pelvic blood flow, especially in older adults with decreased vascular elasticity. Blood moves slower when the pelvic area is compressed or restricted. This affects not just the bladder, but the prostate, the nerves involved in erectile function, and even testosterone production during deep sleep cycles. Let me be clear. I'm not saying the supine position is evil. For some people with back issues or specific spinal conditions, it's the only tolerable way to sleep. But for most men over 60, continuing to sleep this way without modification is like walking around in shoes 2 sizes too small and wondering why your feet hurt. So what did we do for Leonard? We started small. I had him place a body pillow under his right side and angle himself just slightly, not a full fetal curl, but enough to relieve pressure off the bladder and prostate. We also talked about mattress support, since sinking too deep into memory foam can worsen lower pelvic congestion. After a week of this adjusted position, Leonard reported sleeping through the night for the first time in nearly 5 years. That one change gave him back his mornings. He had more energy, fewer mood swings, and surprisingly better control during the day too. Because sleep isn't just about rest, it's about recovery. And if your recovery is constantly being interrupted, everything downstream suffers. So the next time you lie on your back, think about what your organs are doing. Imagine the gentle weight they're applying downward, and ask yourself, is this the position that helps me heal, or is it the one that's slowly draining me? Because sometimes the trap isn't pain, it's habit. Part 3. Sleep apnea, testosterone, and your bladder. I remember Donald clearly, 68 retired engineer, logical to the core. He came in with a stack of notes, a sleep log, even a chart he'd printed from his smartwatch. "Dr. Mark," he said, tapping the paper, "I get 8 hours in bed, but I still wake up tired, groggy, and I have to pee like clockwork at 1:30 and 4:00 a.m. I asked if he snored. His wife sitting beside him raised an eyebrow. "He sounds like a motorboat." That was the clue. What Donald didn't realize, and what many older men completely overlook, is the powerful link between sleep apnea hormone production and bladder activity. And guess what? Back sleeping can make all 3 worse. Let's break it down. When you sleep on your back, especially with relaxed throat muscles due to age or weight gain, the airway is more likely to collapse. This causes micro wake-ups throughout the night episodes you may not even remember, but they fragment your sleep cycle, preventing you from entering and maintaining deep restorative stages. Now, here's where it gets interesting. During deep sleep, your body produces a surge of anti-diuretic hormone ADH, which helps reduce urine production at night. But if your deep sleep is constantly interrupted by snoring, by oxygen drops, by brief awakenings, you never produce enough ADH. And as a result, your kidneys just keep churning out urine like it's the middle of the day. That was Donald's real problem, not an overactive bladder, but a broken hormonal rhythm caused by undiagnosed sleep apnea, worsened by his sleeping position. And it gets worse. Testosterone, the cornerstone of male energy, libido, muscle maintenance, and yes, even urinary health is also produced primarily during deep sleep. So if your airway's collapsing every few minutes, your body simply doesn't get the chance to replenish its testosterone reserves. Over time, this can lead to fatigue, decreased sexual drive, poor muscle tone, and even mood issues like irritability and anxiety. Donald was shocked. "I thought I was just getting older," he admitted. "I didn't think sleep had anything to do with my bladder or my hormones." It does. It has everything to do with it. Here's the silver lining. Donald agreed to a home sleep study which confirmed mild sleep apnea. We didn't go straight to a CPAP machine, instead we made 3 changes. 1. He switched to side sleeping using a special wedge pillow. 2. We raised the head of his bed by 4 inches. 3. He started nasal breathing exercises to support airflow. Within 1 month, his wife said the motorboat was gone. Donald was waking up once a night instead of twice. His energy improved, and this one surprised even him. His morning erections returned. "It's like I woke up 5 years younger," he joked. So if you're struggling with fragmented sleep, frequent urination, and declining vitality, don't just look at your prostate. Look at your pillow. Look at your position. Because if your airway is restricted, your whole system suffers from hormones to bladder to mood. Sometimes the secret to aging well isn't more medication. It's better breathing and better posture when you sleep. Part 4. The left side advantage for prostate health. When Gerald, age 66, a retired high school principal, visited my clinic, he was tired of hearing the same thing. It's just BPH. Benign prostatic hyperplasia, or an enlarged prostate, was his diagnosis for years, but no one had ever asked him how he slept. "I usually just lay flat on my back," he told me. "Been doing that since my 20s. That's where we started to change things. Now let me be clear, BPH is extremely common after 60. The prostate grows, the urethra narrows, and urinary flow gets weaker. That's textbook. But what's not in the textbooks enough is how sleep position impacts the bladder-prostate dynamic overnight. Sleeping on your left side may seem like a small detail, but physiologically, it makes a big difference, especially when it comes to circulation, organ weight distribution, and fluid drainage from the pelvic region. Think about it, your body isn't symmetrical inside. The way organs rest during sleep varies depending on gravity and position. On the left side, the descending colon is down, helping with digestion. More importantly, pressure on the inferior vena cava. The large vein responsible for returning blood to the heart is reduced. That means better venous return from the lower body, improved circulation in the pelvic floor, and less congestion around the bladder and prostate. For men like Gerald, that's critical. In his case, switching to left-side sleeping wasn't easy at first. "I kept rolling onto my back during the night," he told me. So we worked together on positional supports, a small pillow behind the back, a knee wedge between the legs, even a soft rolled towel in front to prevent full rotation. Within 10 days, Gerald started noticing 2 things. First, fewer bathroom visits. He went from 4 times a night to just once. And second, a stronger urine stream in the morning. "It's like things aren't so clogged anymore," he said with a smile. What happened here wasn't magic. It was circulation. Left-side sleeping allowed his body to reduce internal pressure on the bladder, open up the space around the urethra, and gently ease inflammation that had been worsening from years of nightly compression. And here's the wild part. This isn't just anecdotal. In sleep medicine, left-side sleeping is often recommended for heart patients because of its effect on circulation. It turns out those same vascular benefits translate beautifully to men with prostate or bladder issues. Now, I'm not saying everyone should sleep in a fetal ball on their left side from now on, but I am saying this if you're dealing with urinary hesitancy, weak flow, or nighttime urgency, and your current position isn't helping, give the left side a try. Support your hips, protect your spine, and make it sustainable. Gerald didn't take a new pill. He didn't have a procedure. He just shifted 90 degrees and his nights changed dramatically. You might find the same happens for you. Part 5. Gravity fluid shifts and middle-of-the-night trouble. Not long ago, I met a man named Stanley, age 70, former construction manager, proud grandfather of 5. He came in with a complaint I hear all too often. "Doc, I go to sleep fine, but by 2 a.m., it's like someone turns on a faucet. I'm up peeing 2-3 times before sunrise. What gives?" Stanley was in good health overall, normal labs, decent diet, reasonable weight, but something was off. He wasn't drinking too much water at night. He wasn't on diuretics, yet his bladder seemed to overflow every single evening like clockwork. So we talked about fluid dynamics, not the kind he learned in his plumbing days, the kind happening inside his own body. Here's what most people don't realize during the day, especially if you're on your feet. A lot fluid tends to pool in the lower extremities. Ankles swell, legs feel heavy, but when you lie down at night, gravity redistributes that fluid back into the bloodstream. The kidneys, ever diligent, see this sudden volume and interpret it as a green light to start filtering, and boom, you've got excess urine production between 1:00 and 4:00 a.m. Now add to that equation a stiff pelvic floor, a mildly enlarged prostate, and some age-related nerve desensitization, and suddenly your bladder's sounding alarms it didn't need to. Stanley was intrigued. "So you're saying my legs are the reason I pee all night?" he asked. And I said, "Exactly, sort of." Because it's not just about the legs. It's about when and how that fluid shift happens and how we can manage it before sleep starts. I gave Stanley 3 simple tools. 1. Leg elevation an hour before bed. He would lie down with his legs on a wedge or pillows, elevated slightly above heart level for 30 to 45 minutes in the evening. This helped his body redistribute fluid before he went to sleep. 2. Compression socks during the day. These helped prevent excessive fluid pooling in the lower limbs, reducing the reservoir that could later flood the system at night. 3. Left side sleep positioning. This encouraged optimal lymphatic drainage and kidney function during rest. The result, Stanley was stunned. "I feel like I finally sleep like a retired man," he told me. "I even dream again." The key lesson here is that your sleep experience is shaped not just by what happens in bed, but by what your body carries into it. Gravity doesn't turn off when you lie down, but with a little planning, you can use it to your advantage. If you find yourself getting up like clockwork every night and there's no glaring medical cause, start thinking about circulation fluid and position. How you spend your evening hours might be the fix your nighttime bladder has been begging for. And most importantly, just like with Stanley, it's never too late to try something different. Part 6, the silent impact on circulation and nerve function. Sometimes the problem isn't how often a man wakes up, it's what he doesn't feel anymore. That was the case with Charles, 73, a retired piano teacher who came to me not because he had to pee too much at night, but because he no longer felt the urge. "It's strange," he said. "I don't feel pressure until I'm nearly bursting, and when I do go, the stream's weak." He assumed it was just age. But what I saw in Charles was something subtler, and in many cases far more dangerous. Progressive pelvic nerve desensitization caused by poor circulation. And the main culprit, his sleep position. For decades, Charles had slept flat on his back, often with a heavy comforter, no leg support, and a soft mattress. Over time, this led to increased pressure on the sacral nerves, which are responsible for sending messages from the bladder and genitals to the brain. Think of it like pinching a phone line. Eventually, the signal weakens. Add in age-related vascular stiffness, and you've got a double-threat less oxygenated blood reaching the nerves and reduced mechanical stimulation from movement due to deep static postures during sleep. This kind of subtle nerve dulling doesn't just affect bladder control, it affects erectile quality, arousal sensation, and even the strength of orgasm. And most men never realize it's happening until it's well underway. Charles had no idea that something as simple as chronic compression from a sleep position could rob him of feeling. "So you're saying I'm squishing my own nerves while I sleep?" he asked. "Yes," I told him, "but the good news is the body can bounce back." We implemented a few restorative strategies. Positional variation. I coached Charles on how to alternate between left and right side sleeping every few nights to relieve consistent nerve pressure. Knee and hip elevation. This helped offload tension from the lower spine and encouraged pelvic blood flow. Stretching and nerve gliding. Gentle mobility work in the morning activated dormant nerve pathways and reduced pelvic tightness. And slowly, Charles began noticing subtle returns. More awareness of bladder fullness, better timing for urination, and perhaps most rewarding for him, a renewed sensitivity during intimacy. "I thought that part of life was over," he told me quietly. I was wrong. What men often mistake for just getting old is sometimes nothing more than a body under constant, unnoticed pressure. Nerves don't scream when they go numb, they fade. And by the time the symptoms are obvious, many have already resigned themselves to decline. But decline isn't destiny. Your body, even at 73 or beyond, responds beautifully to circulation movement and mindful positioning. And that includes how you rest at night. If you've lost touch with how your bladder used to feel or how your body used to respond, it might not be memory. It might be mechanics. And the way back starts not in a pill bottle, but in your mattress, your alignment, and your belief that change is still possible. Just like Charles proved. Part 7. How one patient turned things around. Let me introduce you to Roy, age 69, retired bus driver, soft-spoken with a wry sense of humor. "Doc," he said with a grin, "I didn't come here for pills. I came here to sleep. For over a decade, Roy had been battling what he called the 3 a.m. curse, waking up like clockwork, fumbling to the bathroom, then lying awake for hours. He'd tried herbal teas, melatonin, blue light glasses, you name it. Nothing stuck. What Roy hadn't considered not even once was that his sleep position might be the silent thief behind his nighttime frustrations. When we did a full intake, everything pointed to positional triggers: back sleeping, no leg elevation, shallow disrupted breathing. Roy had a classic case of low pelvic circulation and fluid redistribution, but more than that, he had lost the habit of sleeping for recovery. So we created a plan, not a fancy one, just intentional. 1. Body awareness. I taught Roy to do a 5-minute check-in before bed. Where was the pressure? Where was he feeling tension? 2. Side sleep training. With the help of a firm pillow behind his back and a small cushion between his knees, Roy slowly retrained his body to stay on his left side. 3. Evening fluid shift. Legs elevated for 30 minutes before bed with slow diaphragmatic breathing to prepare the nervous system. 4. Pelvic floor relaxation. A quick routine of gentle stretches and breathwork to relax the lower abdomen and hips before sleep. Roy followed the plan like it was gospel. And 2 weeks later, he came back with eyes brighter and voice steadier. I slept 7 hours straight, Mark. Didn't even check the clock. The most powerful part of Roy's transformation wasn't just his improved bladder control. It was what came with it: confidence. A renewed sense that his body could still cooperate, that aging wasn't a one-way street. And that's what I want every man watching this to remember. This journey isn't about avoiding every issue or reversing every symptom. It's about reclaiming agency over the small habits that make a big difference, starting with how you lie down each night. Sleep isn't passive, it's posture, it's preparation. And with a few mindful shifts like Roy made, you might just unlock the kind of rest you haven't had in years. Let me leave you with something simple but powerful. If you're over 60 and waking up at night, whether it's to use the bathroom, adjust your body, or because you just feel unrested, don't be so quick to blame aging. What if it's not age but angle? Not your bladder giving out, but your posture pressing in. You've heard 7 stories today. Harold Leonard, Donald, Gerald Stanley, Charles, and Roy. Each of them came in with a different complaint, but all of them had something in common. They were lying down in ways that worked against their body's natural flow. And when they made small changes, nothing extreme, nothing expensive, everything started to shift. Fewer bathroom trips, deeper sleep, better circulation, more energy, even improved intimacy. This isn't a miracle cure. It's not magic. It's awareness. As a urologist who spent over 3 decades helping men navigate the most private parts of their health, I can tell you the body responds beautifully when you stop fighting it and start listening to it. That starts with how you sleep, not just how long, but how. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Lie on your left side, support your knees, elevate your legs for 20 minutes before bed, notice your breathing, notice where there's tension, and give yourself permission to sleep in a way that heals, not just survives. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel. Leave a 1 in the comments to let me know you're ready to sleep better. And if you've got a question or a story like Roy's, type it below. I read every one. You don't need a new decade to make a change. You just need a new position. Sleep smart. Live strong.